Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the fourth quarter finish. Today, I am really happy and blessed to be joined by one of the best linemen that I've ever seen play for Caledonia football, and that is Mr. Ian Fedowa. Thank you for joining today, Ian.
Thanks for having me, Casey. I'm excited to kind of share my story and what I know, my insight of football over my years I've picked up.
Yeah, and you have a very extensive knowledge. I mean, you've been to a state championship game. You've played all 4 years of high school football that I know of, and you obviously come from a football family that I know of as well. So just to get started, I just want to hear a little bit about your football journey. So starting at a young age, what kind of led you to choose football, and what led you to want to play offensive line in high school, even.
Yeah. Obviously not a lot of people like to become a lineman. I mean, you're not star of the show. You're kind of just out there to beat up people, get beat up on, it's highly injured, not really seen. But the thing I really was drawn towards with the line was I was blessed at a young age to have extreme size. I was very large growing up, and that
Mhm.
really helped me. Like I was always put on the line, and over those years, I really perfected a lot of like talents that not on purpose even. I mean, the more you block on the O line, like the more little tips you pick up on foot placement and even just like the movement. You can see what a defender is gonna do before it even happens sometimes. And I guess all that experience going up, I started slowing down in size, but obviously like I stayed in the weight room, my numbers were really good. So um I was all for being a lineman, it was what I perfected throughout my early years and I just rolled with it.
Right. And like I said, I should probably start off with what position did you play on the line? I know you moved around a little bit during your high school career, but I what was your favorite, I should ask?
Yeah, so I moved around a ton. All the time, and I've kind of played it all. So my favorite has to be either side tackle. I do like the left tackle, just having the blind side because all of my quarterbacks have been righties. So being able to protect that weak side is really important. And I've always noticed that kind of with pass rush being a tackle, you got to be quick because those ends are can be a 4'6" running guy or a 250-pound bull. Like there's such a dynamic position that you have to play against so many different types of people, and I think that just fit really well into my skill set. And I mean, both power and speed work really well there on the tackle position.
Yeah, and that's something that they always say is left tackles are the most expensive part on the offensive line just because of that blind side. It takes a lot of talent to really be an anchor on that left side. And like I said, watching you, as I watched you grow up, you were an absolute anchor on that left side. Now you also play D line though, as we know, Caledonia plays two-way football. So tell me a little bit about D line. What did you see there, and how did being an offensive lineman help you as a defensive lineman?
Yeah, so like I said, growing up, I was always just a whole head taller than everyone. So growing up, it was just kind of easy being a D lineman. You can kind of just run through. Like Little League football is super easy when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to just being bigger than everyone. But to talk more about high school, I was definitely not like the biggest guy out in the field, but I had a lot of dynamic skills that would really help me outside of just being bigger than everyone. So my junior year, I played D end, which I thought was like fit best with my skills, just
Mm-hmm.
being so quick off the ball and reacting on a dime. But my senior year, I got moved to nose guard, just because we were a little light on players. So and I personally think like I did well at nose guard. It was a fun position, but I don't think it fit well with my size because I mean if you're not over 250, you're gonna struggle. So. I think DN was my definitely my favorite position.
Your favorite position? Okay, so in the difference between the D end movements versus the nose guard movements are just completely two different worlds, right?
Yeah, 100%. Especially with reacting to the ball, as a nose guard. I mean, you don't have a second to spare, and like most people you'd see jumping offside is the nose guard, or sometimes those tackles if you're running that even front. And people are always curious because you're the one that's right in front of the ball. You should be able to see it, but they're the ones that need to get off the ball first. So that's why they have that issue reacting. Because if you aren't off the ball first, combination of 500-pound double team is gonna hurt like this. So, uh,
That will definitely take the wind out of your sails for sure.
yeah, yeah, but more towards that D line movement or DN movement. I mean, it's such a react like those guard. I mean, I'm just right off the ball, hit. You got to think run. Like you're not going to see a nose guard make the sack much of the time, so they're always kind of playing run. But on that DN position, it's very reactive. So you gotta go off immediately, think it's a run, kind of get that good hand placement, stay low, and get your drive. But if you see pass, you gotta know what you're gonna do inside or outside pass move. I mean, you got it's like a game of chess the whole game. Like you learn those guys you're playing against. Like if they leave more to the or inside or outside, if they lean back or they're heavy, you could really just work off of that and what moves you're gonna use. So a
Right.
lot of things you can pick up on.
Yeah, that I was gonna say there's a lot that you've told me about watching an offensive lineman that you can pick up tendencies very easily. And it's mind blowing to me that you can in an instant see that in a flash and make a decision on that, which is fantastic. That just goes to show how mentally tough you have to be to play defensive line as well as physically tough. And
Oh yeah, for
I think
sure.
it's incredible. So moving forward a little bit, I know your brothers have a huge impact in your life, and did they have a lot of impact on helping you through your offensive line journey? I know Jake was obviously a very good offensive lineman for Caledonia as well, and I just wanted to give you a chance to talk about a little bit what effect your family and your brothers had on you.
Yeah, so I mean, early on, when I was really, really young, I mean, when you're seeing three older brothers out there playing on a big field on Friday nights, and I'm going to all these games to watch them. Sometimes I didn't even want to go to the game, but I was just tagged along. You start really, really dreaming up these like goals of yours that you want to be on that field. You want to be able to make an impact in your community, both on and off the field. So. I don't know. Having that inspiration of having brothers that went through it and they were very successful in what they did, regardless of how well our team did early on, it was always special to see them out there, and it meant a lot to me just to, create those goals at a young age and work towards them. I mean, not everyone's lifting at 10 years old, but when you got brothers that are out there doing it, you want to do it too. So, me, it meant a lot to me that it was definitely prevalent in my success.
Yes, yeah, the definite trickle down effect for the Fita Bros. I saw it from every one of them. Obviously, I played with your brother, so I knew he was kind of a monster in the weight room, and that was just a trickle down effect for you. Is I feel like every Fita Bro just got better and better at the weight room, and it just trickles down. So going from that, I want to talk a little bit about that junior and senior season you had. Obviously, Caledonia had a amazing season, one of the best that I've probably ever seen in my lifetime, and I played for them. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity of what you saw from on the field to the sideline of what that journey was like to Ford Field in your junior year.
Yeah, so it started off as like a complete mental switch. I mean, you have to go all the way back to our coaching change back in my sophomore year. Coach Derek Pennington came from Zeeland East, and he brought some players with, but he also brought a new like intensity and mentality to the game that this is. I mean, we're having fun out there, but this is a job, and you need to treat it like that. So, I mean, most high school teams. I mean, you're out there, you're having fun, but the successful ones are the ones that can get out there, create a standard and hit that standard and excel from it every single day. And that started when he hopped in. I mean, the recruiting took off. I mean, we had film all the time, workouts all the time. It was a year-round like job. So after he stepped in, we created that new like line for where we need to be, and it just grew from there like exponentially. I mean, we had people that weren't even probably going to see the field much. I mean, adapt to this new mentality, and they lifted and they worked and they worked, and I mean, tremendous bounds. I've seen people put on 30 pounds in one year just to see the field. So it was a huge flip, and obviously our success showed with a couple district championships, regionals, and obviously our trip to states my junior year. So it was a huge jump, and it was a lot of fun to be a part of.
It sounded like it was just an absolute blast. And there's one game that I got to ask you specifically about because it was probably the biggest game of the year, but the Rockford game. What was that like being on the field for that? Being on the
Yeah.
sidelines on the field for that. That was just electric.
So, pretty much that was my junior year, and week 7, I had a terrible foot injury that had needed like major surgery, and I was out till about March. So, I mean, I was on the sideline for that game. Luckily, I actually got to watch it from the sideline. I wasn't during the surgery week, so it was just electric. I mean, you're seeing two rivals go at it. I mean, we've hated each other for years, and us having the opportunity to win a district title with these guys at their home field. Shout out our quarterback Mason McKenzie. I mean, last play of the game, we could have tied it up, gone into overtime, but he told coach, he called that play like in the huddle. He was like, I know I can do this. Like he took it into his own hands, like good teams coach themselves, and he had the confidence and the gusto to tell coach, I'm gonna do this play and it's gonna work. And sure enough, he ran it in and got us that 2-point conversion to take us to the next game. So it was cool to see that from your leader. I mean, when a quarterback can go out there and put his neck on the line, and know he's going to get it done, it's huge for a team. And obviously, Mason now he's playing at Saginaw, got freshman of the year for the GLIAC, so he's always been succeeding. And to see that on a team, I mean, our junior year was obviously special. Like we had players that knew they could get it done, so it was really cool to be a part of it.
Very, very special. Yes. And shout out to Mason McKenzie. He was electric that year, and he is still doing electric things as a freshman at Saginaw Valley State. So, congrats to him, obviously. Wanted to give him a shout out there. About that, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the recruiting process. So Derek Pennington comes in, he takes over for Coach Burrell that was there, and it seems like all of a sudden recruiting explodes at Caledonia. There's many kids getting looked at by the local colleges, and they're also getting looked at by lower level Division 1 colleges, which is amazing. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that process. What was that like to see that change?
Yeah, so coming in my freshman year, I was blessed to be able to see both sides of that because I was working with the varsity a little bit freshman year, so I just got to see Burrell's coaching style, and it was very very old school. I mean, he was hard nosed. We're gonna kick you in the teeth, and that's how we're going to wear you down. But unfortunately, like all things happen. I mean, the years move on, and football is everything is always excelling and becoming this new advanced way of play. And it comes with a lot more of, I mean, obviously the spread. You're not seeing much wishbone, which is what we played under Burrell, succeeding nowadays. So
Mm-hmm.
then we had Pennington come in sophomore year, and he switched to the spread. I mean, he lived and breathed spread. He did presentations with it, and he goes all around the country and teaches it and learns it. So he was committed to the game, and he figured out this new modern style, and he understood what it takes to be like successful. And obviously, with like recruiting, what you said, he brought in that attention because our Caledonia wasn't recruiting very well under Burrow, because it takes a lot from the coaches to reach out to these colleges. I mean, if you don't have that advocation going on for you, it's not going to get much attention for your school, whether you're winning or losing. But I mean, when Pennington came in, he's bringing coaches into school. I mean, I've been pulled out of class to go talk to certain coaches that he's bringing in, and this is something that wouldn't have happened if he didn't step in and advocate. So that's why you see a huge surge in recruiting coming out of Caledonia because of this new coaching and this new connections that he had with other colleges.
Yeah. So in speaking along with those relationships, obviously you're a well-known supporter and great friend of Brock Townsend, and obviously he's now playing at Central Michigan as a freshman. And a little bit about that is he was a highly skilled recruit coming out of Caledonia and managed to get a 3-star, which, as far as I know, him and Mason McKenzie are the only 3-stars to ever come out of Caledonia that I know of. So fact check me if I'm wrong on that. But so for that to be really special for him. What kind of was his view of things, if you have any idea on his views?
Yeah, so I mean, we go back to when he came to Caledonia in about middle school. I got to know him at a pretty young age, and just being able to block for him, it started all the way when he was in eighth grade. He was always talented at just having that football IQ and reaction timing. I mean, being able to block for someone that can read where I'm blocking and run in the perfect direction, it makes it easy for me, and obviously my blocking makes it easy for him, and that cohesive relationship is how success is done. And building that connection with him at a young age made it so when I came junior, senior year, and we're working, the same exact blocking schemes that we've always done, it made it so. I mean, running the ball, we're getting 5, 10 yards of carry, and it was just something that we've always kind of been doing. But that's Brock and I's relationship, and I've seen with recruiting. I always knew he'd be very successful just because he's always had that skill. And then once he started lifting more and running more, and I mean, he had everything that running back coaches want. And I see that now with when Pennington came in, coupled with the fact that he's very talented. You have this coach advocating for you, having colleges come in. I mean, he did a thing with Michigan State even. I mean, you're talking a Power Five school, and that is unheard of for Caledonia being a little small town. I mean, you don't see much recruiters coming in.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
I completely agree. It is an absolute change and a wonderful change at that. And
Hmm.
with that being said, I know you also are very good friends with actually the coach's son, Derek, and he's playing at Western Michigan now. Kind of the same thing. His preparation led him to success, and obviously, he worked extremely hard to get to that point. But just super proud of both of the Caledonia boys getting to the next level and getting to that Division 1 level at that is so impressive. So with that being said, do you have any other people that you kind of want to shout out? This is your opportunity to just kind of shout out anybody you want.
Yeah.
Um, just really special team, special time. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
True. So my early years of high school, obviously as an offensive defensive lineman, usually you always find that senior that kind of brings you up and teaches you the game, kind of like a leader, kind of like that role model. I just want to shout out Caleb Parlberg, my sophomore year. He was a senior. And at that point, that was Pennington's first year, so Caledonia still wasn't being looked at very much with recruiting, but I mean, this dude could run like the wind, and he was massive. Like it didn't make sense how fast he could move at such a size. So, um, he taught me everything I need to know about being successful. I mean, he not only is successful on the field, but he's one of the nicest, most genuine guys I've ever met. And he went to Hope College, which, in my opinion, I think he probably could have gone Division 1 from my eyes, but obviously the recruiting wasn't quite there yet. But to
Yeah,
see him succeed, and then he also picked up throwing at Hope just to throw it on the resume. I mean, he was always so dynamic at everything he did with all states in both throwing and football. And it was great to learn under such a successful guy that taught me not only how to be good on the field, but just be a good person. And I just wanted to shout him out because he was huge in my development.
that's awesome, and you got to have that senior that kind of takes you under their wing. There's always one, and it's awesome that he was able to shed some things down to you, and obviously it paid off quite well for both of you. With him playing at Hope, that's fantastic, and I wish him the best of luck on his career as well. And with you obviously having the dominance that you had in your high school career, as a junior and as a senior, just amazing football play. So with that being said, a couple of last questions here. As a football player, we all have our favorites, right? What would you say is your favorite defense to play against as an offensive lineman?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed playing against any odd fronts. So if I'm like a Saturday or Sunday and we got film going on and I see this team running an odd front, I know it's just gonna be a bloodbath. So for me personally, I always loved hitting people hard when it comes to like downhill blocking. And with our last 3 years of high school, we were in that zone scheme blocking. just being able to like I had always had a guy like my guard or when I became a guard senior year, we always mastered our double teams. And when you have an even or an odd front, and you can get up to the linebackers, it's money. You'll get 10 yards of carry if you can get up to the linebackers against an odd front. So that was always just my preference going into a game. And I guess with an even front, sometimes it made it harder to move downhill because if you got a guy lined up directly on you, they can get an easy jump to the outside if you're running like a stretch play. So that's where a lot of like the yeah, chop blocking would come in, and that was always a tough one to do against. If you're going against a good guy and you try to chop block, he can sometimes just hurdle you, and it looks pretty rough on
It
film.
it
But I
looks
was like, yeah,
it looks rough in the next day in film room. Yeah,
right,
I've
yeah.
been there. Yep.
But yeah,
Um,
that out front you can just beat up on, and I loved it.
yeah. Now because obviously Caledonia played both sides. Defensively, what's your favorite offense to play against? I'm sure you're not going to say the Granville wing T.
Yeah, I
You know
yeah.
that one was always my least favorite, but
Yeah, so I hated the wing tee, especially senior year nose guard. I mean, I got rocked pretty hard with someone kicking me in the helmet. Actually, I made a tackle, and that's all I kind of remember. I got a pretty bad concussion that game, but I stayed in. But I mean, when you're a nose guard, you're just kind of, as my coach Bell would say, you're a little sacrificial lamb for that week. So. But my favorite offense has to be. I don't like offenses that pass. I can't. I mean, that means I just can't get physical, and that's kind of my biggest thing. I like downhill running offenses because if you can take that aspect out of the game, they're one dimensional and they're not going to be able to beat you on the through the air. So,
yep.
just teams that are really good at running the ball and you shut that down, they're done for the game.
Yeah, that's always a great feeling as a D lineman is when you know that hey, you're going to try to run it through me and I'm not going to let it happen. And it's a great feeling to get those stops. So, with that being said, I'm just going to kind of ask you some fun questions now about kind of the today's happenings. Obviously, it's Sunday, so that means it's NFL Sunday. Anything that really strikes you today as crazy, surprising, or on par?
Yeah, so well, obviously the Lions beating the Colts. I mean, I we all saw that one coming out of that 1 o'clock window. But early first half, I mean, it was a tight one, but I think that's just kind of how the Lions have played this season so far. They need that 1 to 2 score lead before they can start pulling out all these crazy plays because they need that confidence when it comes to success because you see that with the what game am I thinking of? The Green Bay game. I mean, we were close that whole time, but once we got up by those 2 scores, we started like throwing it to our linemen and stuff. And that's Ben Johnson just having a little fun. But then once they have that confidence, his playbook is endless. I mean, you have all these guys uh, that can do all this stuff. So it was cool to see the Lions win today. And then obviously that Bears loss. I don't know if I should be talking about
Yeah,
that right
yeah,
now.
that one
Don't
stinks a
want to
little.
don't want to add insult to injury, but I was a little surprised they even made that field goal to put it into overtime, judging by their past success with close game field goals.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So, how'd you feel about that game? Because I know during that overtime you were probably shaking quite a
Oh, well, so my take on it was I couldn't even believe that we had made it to overtime. It was one of those things you just don't expect. I mean, as a Bears fan, I've been through enough kicking woes to last a lifetime in a span of probably 5 years. I mean, the double doink,
yeah.
that one is all time ingrained in my memory. And with this year so far, already having 3 blocked kicks this year and most of the time them being in clutch situations, it is just unbelievable that it keeps happening. I thought for the first time that we were going to be on the right side of history when he made that kick. And honestly, when the onside kick happened, I thought for sure that this was going to be a win for the Bears. And unfortunately, the rookie quarterback did rookie things, which is take a sack on second down to make it, instead of 3rd and 11, it was 2nd and 21, I believe. So just really overtime was just done once he took that sack. So not really anything that I'm too surprised about in that Bears game. It was all they used to have a saying for Lions fans, which is, Lions are going to lion. Well, it's unfortunately Bears are going to Bears nowadays. So the Bears bared, and I just kind of expect it at this point now. So that's where the NFC North kind of sits. We're at the
Maybe I
basement.
should maybe I should buy you like a Cody Parkey jersey for
Oh
Christmas.
no. Oh my gosh. I would cry if that arrived at my doorstep, and I
It's
might have to throw it in
hilarious.
the woods. But we'll
Yeah,
just not think about that name ever again.
yeah, yeah.
Um
And you were talking about that rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams. I personally don't think he's a bust quite yet. I think if you watch those games, the biggest mistakes he makes are rookie mistakes, and that's why he's a rookie, So he has these glimpses of talent that I think if they're after like 2 or 3 years, he has a shot of being a contender as a top 10 quarterback. So I personally don't think you should worry about the quarterback situation quite yet.
yeah, I actually have over since the offensive coordinator change, obviously everybody has talked about that to the end of time, but since that has happened, I have been very encouraged with his progressions. He is running when he needs to run. He is, throwing when he needs to throw. There's still a few plays. Normally I give rookies about a 10 play buffer, I would say. So when I'm evaluating a quarterback, I go, okay, well, rookies get 10 plays. If you're a vet, you get 3 mistakes. So, I think Caleb is right on pace with that 10 mistakes a game type of thing, taking a sack where he shouldn't, throwing a ball that probably shouldn't be thrown, not throwing a ball away when it should be. Those are like I said, those are the plays that I evaluate and I go, okay, he's a rookie. That's fine. So far, I would say I've been impressed. Still, I think a long ways to go, but I think he already actually broke the Bears rookie passing record in the entire history, which is 2,200 yards. So he's already technically one of the best quarterbacks in Bears history. Can't really can't really go worse than what we have had. So again, encouraged by his progress. Curious to see how the rest of the season plays out, but I think you're gonna win that bet with me. I'm gonna have to pay you $20 because the Bears are not making the playoffs.
Got that written right in my bulletin
Yeah,
board.
yeah, yeah. That one's going right in the ledger. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
I
it's
knew that huge start would trickle down,
it.
especially after NFC North play.
Yeah, it was a foolish idea to think they would make the playoffs.
Well,
Um,
you're paying for my tuition.
yeah, yeah, there we go. It makes me feel better knowing it's going to a good cause. Is there anything else in the NFL that happened that you kind of want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Browns because I think they're getting a bad rep right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Because I mean I've just been watching their games recently, and it's probably one of the most impressive defenses. Even though the scoreboards never show it, I just think their offense never puts them in a good position because obviously the defense can only do so much if the offense isn't keeping the ball on like their side for a good half of the game.
Mhm.
Um, because obviously, I mean, Jameis Winston, he's a good leader, but he's not really getting it done. And then that O line is just in shambles. They can't even run the ball, especially with Nick Chubb coming back off that injury.
Yeah,
Um,
that has been a huge surprise. Is that the
yeah,
offensive line is as incohesive as it is?
right.
It's really surprising. They have actually one of Michigan State's greatest. Sorry, Michigan, the state's plural. Jack Conklin is still playing for the Browns,
Mm-hmm.
and I've
Yep,
always been a huge fan of his. And for him to, I feel like he's getting up there in age finally, and I think maybe it's finally starting to take a toll on him. But obviously, pray for him to continue his strong career. But yeah, the Browns defense is always going to be elite as long as they have Mr. 95 on the other side. Miles Garrett is the best defensive player that I've seen in a long time. He
yep,
can do it all. He can run, he can stop the run, he can pass rush. I think he could honestly drop into coverage like Micah Parsons, to be completely honest.
for sure.
But I think he is dominant, and it's just crazy to see.
Yeah, if I were them, I would definitely like use that early round pick to get like an explosive offensive player and then try to get like early second round window. really just try to get that offensive line and find a guy that can grow into your O line and really play that leader position because your defense led by Denzel Ward and Miles Garrett, I mean that's solid. And the guys will all progress from there. So their defense isn't the issue, but this next draft is going to be huge for their entire franchise because right now it's not looking great. But I personally see glimpses of hope for them. So
Yeah, I would totally agree. Um, with that being said, there's one last thing I got to ask about, and it's kind of the big news of the month so far. But Bryce Underwood committing to Michigan, and obviously you have experience with Bryce. I have experience with Bryce watching him that game in the state championship. What are your takes on kind of what NIL is doing to college football, and then also maybe a take on what you think Bryce's projection is?
yeah, so I mean, as a guy that is currently in residence at Michigan State University, it's a tough notification to get on your phone that Bryce Underwood flipped to the school's rival. So yeah, I'm just hoping that he's there for 1 year and gets out of there, and that'll be a fun 1 year for them. But he's very talented. I mean, watching him in person, he's quick. He's got a nice strong can always hit their receivers down the field. But I mean, the NIL deal with Dave Portnoy throwing over $2 million at him just to go to a school, and I mean, if you're getting more of a package than LSU was there to offer, I mean, they're doing a lot for this dude, so they better pay off for him because they threw a ton of money over to him. So
Yeah.
obviously, I'm a little salty about it because I'm not really trying to watch him cook my Spartans, but
Yep, yep. I was gonna say the
yeah,
Sparty does not need to go up against a good Michigan quarterback. That would be
yeah.
not a great thing. Obviously
Mhm.
seeing him play when he was a freshman for Belleville, I thought that he actually had a lot of freshman growing pains in that game, especially the first half. I thought that Caledonia was actually the better team, even with Bryce on that team. But the second half, the athletes just kind of showed out. They had one way players, so they didn't have to play both ways. And I think that's just where the athleticism showed up for
Yeah,
them in that second half.
yeah, we had a lot of issues or injuries that game throwing us around. But I believe he was a sophomore that Ford Field game that we played him because he already had one ring under his belt. I'm pretty sure
Okay,
because
yeah, I
it was a back to back when they got us.
it was
So
a back to back. Okay, yeah, I
yeah,
might have been off on that. I thought he was a freshman, but it could be he was a sophomore.
yeah. And
So
then I know they just got knocked out this year, so he got a ring freshman sophomore year, and then junior and senior he just got knocked out of playoffs pretty early. But yeah, I think he's got everything that he needs to be successful, and obviously I hope he does well at Michigan, just because it's a young man that has a lot going for him. I'm never gonna pray on someone to not be successful, but obviously it's gonna take a lot because being a rookie with that much expectation at a school that you're getting paid that much. I mean, think about Daniel Jones in the NFL. He fell off once he started getting money because that's probably huge pressure that you're getting paid that much as a quarterback. So. I
yes,
mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of rookie. I mean, he's not going to go out there and shine like right away, but I think he'll definitely find his way throughout midseason.
yep. And I think Michigan has got themselves a really, really strong dual threat quarterback. He really
Yep.
does have the legs and he has the arm. Really curious to see what transpires with all of that. If he starts his freshman year, if he doesn't, I would expect he would. If he didn't, then that'd be kind of crazy. But yeah, Ian, I just think we'll wrap up there. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on and talking about your experience and what it's like to come from a small town and a small school and see your friends and yourself have success on such a high stage, with you going to Michigan State, with Brock and Derek and Caleb all going to schools within the area that are high level. Just really thankful for you to come on.
Mhm. Of course, yeah. Anytime, dude, you need an extra mouth. I got you. I'll always talk about football. Love
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I'm super excited, and I hear that there may be a special guest coming in the next couple
Yep.
episodes. We
Yep.
may not know, no confirmation yet. We're gonna leave you
Get
guys
it
on
in the
your toes.
works.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening to the podcast today. Again, huge thanks to Ian for coming on, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay on your toes because we're gonna keep going. Fourth quarter finish. Thanks.